Okay, welcome to yet another video. This is Kevin, also known as AKAAWOL, and today we're going to continue down that path we were taking with the Celtic knot design. It started with the Chinese New Year's one and progressed it on to this. What we have here is a bracelet that has been made into essentially a tube. And I'm going to, in this video, try to explain how that happened and how I took a basically simple pattern and made it into something that's a little bit more advanced. So if we look right here at the very beginning of this, right where my thumb is, you can see that that design basically matches up with the same design of my previous videos. So you have this figure 8 look happening in both of them. The big difference that you'll probably notice is that where this one comes off and has that little purple indent in it, over here it ends up becoming an actual diamond. So that's kind of the biggest thing that you'll actually experience being different. Now I have the patterns that are up on the website akaawol.com, so you can actually see the pattern to this and be able to work it out. Although I'm going to have to say, if you're the kind of person who just goes down and goes the one row and then the next row and the next row, you're really going to hate this, because the problem with a two-dimensional pattern in a three-dimensional space is it doesn't make up for the fact that it goes all the way around, right? So there's basically like the rows off the sides are missing. So you kind of have to kind of keep moving where you are on the pattern to make this actually work out. So the pattern will look like a double wide, which essentially this was. When I joined the two pieces together, this one and this one, it was a double wide. When I flipped it around, that's when it became a tube. So if you can do this where you start out and you do the first diamond, right, which was here. I left the blues off, right? The blue, that blue knot is where the two things joined. So I went as far as this coming to the end, then doing the yellow and whatever. Then when I joined it, bring this down so it's just a square, then put in the little diamond, then add in the rest of this down here, and then then basically you end up with the relief space of where I started the pattern again. Now here I didn't add in that extra X. I went straight from the one pattern into the other. So the yellow is always doing the under over thing, where this one here, it created a much bigger diamond. The reason for that was over here, we were keeping these straight aligned. Here, we're offsetting them. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. If you have questions, ask. I'll take time out of my day and do my best to answer everything. But that's essentially what the big difference is between the two. Now, like I said, this becomes more difficult mostly because of the fact that you have to kind of keep turning it. You're going to have to change it, and then you're like, wait, where am I? But as long as you can keep track of, it's a big square here, it comes down 5, makes a little diamond in the middle, then it does a little diamond, then it comes down 3 and comes over. It's not super difficult. And one of the things that'll help make it easy is if you use something that you can fit inside. It happened to be, for me, it was this chopstick. So I was able to clip onto this and be able to hold it, which helps to keep the strings that are underneath behind and the ones that I'm working with on the top up here. So that's just a little thing that I've discovered along the way to help make it easier. Hopefully that will help make it easier for you as well. And again, really, if you're the kind of person who just learned how to do from patterns and you're just going to come down one row, one row, one row, I probably would wait and do some of my other videos first and kind of get a feel for how I make bracelets, because I really don't think this one will work out very well for you. You could probably do it with this. You could probably do it with the first Chinese one I did was like this, right? And then this was the smaller knot version. So you can see this one here is the smaller knot version, just like this was. But if you look at the Kumi, it's the same as this. So what this was is there is 12 strands, right? 12? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 12 strands. That's what made the Kumi. And because I'm using each strand individually instead of doubling it up like I did with these, I end up with 6 on this side and 6 on this side. And it just alternates blue, gold, blue, gold, blue, gold, right? And again, the pattern is on the website. You can look that up. So you have the 12 strands, you make the diamond on this part, the 12 strands, make the diamond on this part, join the two, flip it, join it again, and you're on your way to a tube. And that way you end up with the loop. If you do it without the loop, you could always just like run elastic through it or whatever, but I find that the loop will make it easier to tie this thing on as a bracelet, like all the rest of them. So there's my whole little evolutionary thing. We started out with this Chinese New Year's thing, progressed into a segmented, and then took a big jump and got a little bit crazy with it. So all right, so let's get into the making it, and let's see if I can explain this well enough for you. All right, here we go. So here's where it basically had started. Somewhere between my two comments there, I managed to come up with this idea that if I took those two patterns, I could somehow mesh it together and then in its relief space be able to create this thing. So yeah, and I have to actually think, I don't have their name right here. Somebody gave me the brilliant idea, said I should speed up the video because doing it at the regular speed is just really sort of tediously slow. I basically came up with the notion that maybe I should actually keep my voice. Oh, it was Good and Green over on YouTube. Good and Green, thank you for your suggestion. This is sped up because just doing the first couple segments took well over an hour. And I really felt like there was nobody out there who was going to enjoy waiting a whole hour just to kind of see this thing get put together. So you can see I had started out the bracelet exactly like before, separate the colors, get it nice and smooth, and I've got 12 little individual strands, nothing doubled up. This is 12 strands. Had I doubled it up, it would have been a lot bigger. Probably would have been nice still. I just used some strings that were already all cut up and ready to go, so that was the deciding factor there. You can see I'm taking the blue all the way out to the edge, and that will be the actual color that actually joins the two sides together. So that's again, use your own colors, but kind of get the gist of how this is going to come together. I'm creating essentially a small version of the other bracelet on just one side here, and then I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side, and then I'm going to join it. So that would be how you would have your double wide, and that's pretty much what the pattern over on the website looks like, is the double wide. And I guess the real thing is how when that flat pattern won't show you that there's an extra row of knots from when you join the back side of this. And that's where, I mean, I'm not trying to speak badly to the people who just follow the pattern straight down, but there is in fact where that flaw will be if you try to do this and you only go down one row kind of thing, because you'll be blindsided by the fact that there is an extra row and you have to kind of keep shifting that pattern, you know, where are you in the process of making it, because that one that's coming right down the middle is actually happening on both sides. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really super clear in my head. Like I totally do this stuff like all the time. So, and it's kind of, you know, I'm used to it. So, okay, there's one done. I set that off to the side, divide the things in half again, make it up to be an exact same thing. I don't think this is a super advanced bracelet, other than the fact that it is, yes, it is going to be more time consuming, but we're not using anything too complicated as a pattern goes. Everything that goes to the left still goes to the left. Everything going to the right still going to the right. It's just where you stop and which one takes over that makes all the difference. So, okay. Again, I'm taking the blue all the way out. And why I got the diamonds, okay, this is maybe important. Why I do the whole diamond up, and I didn't just say maybe take this blue row straight across and join it with the other side, is developing its shape and stability before actually joining it. If I try to join it before I have those diamonds in place, it can very well end up with a wobble in the beginning, and that wobble will continue like basically endlessly on through the thing until it, you know, maybe you can kind of pull and tug at it until that stops happening, but it really is sort of an issue that can be addressed right here. Just get the two diamonds out of the way, put in the relief space in between those diamonds, and it'll hold together really nice and keep it shaped much, much better. And again, the clip at this point really comes in handy. I can't emphasize how much more useful it is to have a clip than, say, a bit of Scotch tape or something, because you're going to want to change this around. Now, a lot of my videos, I go a lot further than I would if I wasn't shooting a video. Meaning that the distance I work away from the clip on the video is much further for the purpose of showing you what is happening. Whereas if you weren't watching, I would continually shift it upwards, so that way I was working closer and closer to the clip. And by keeping a relatively steady distance to that clip, I can actually help assure that my consistency stays much more even. So hopefully that helps. I'm just going to try to give you as many tips as I can through this, because I know this one is going to seem a little bit daunting, especially to a lot of the people just kind of getting into this thing. But I feel like there's also a fair number of experienced users watching, and hopefully there's some kind of tips you can have. See, I just pushed them really nice and close together, get it shifted just right, so that way when these two join, it's going to be a really nice join. Now mind you, this side is easier to join than when we flip it, so you'll see that in a minute. So one of the the other interesting things here is because I already made this, right, and now I'm adding the voice, and this is obviously it's sped up. It actually is. It's a much more time-consuming process. It's I didn't realize just what I was getting into before doing this, but it is. It's a much more time-consuming process. So hopefully it's worth it. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if this is the route, or should I take the slow road and record while I'm actually making it, because maybe that's a little bit more insightful. So now, okay, so you see here with this, now that they're joined, the blues came all the way down. The blue is actually part of that figure 8. this relief in between, the gold color there, is only making that little diamond. And I tried to explain that before. That's the little tiny bump of a thing that comes in when it's a flat single bracelet. Now it's a full on diamond, and that's because you get one additional row when you join the two together. Now as I bring this blue out, that blue is part of that figure eight, right? So knowing that, you know that the gold that's going to come in after that is again part of that figure eight and will not cross over that final blue line, meaning that blue line is a continuous thing throughout the whole rest of this work. Okay, so knowing that will actually help you to not actually have to look at the pattern repetitively, because I really think that in this case the pattern will actually be more confusing than if you were to just work on the bracelet itself, right? So hopefully this makes sense, right? You're created that little diamond space, this yellow will come down and it will stop, and this blue comes over top of it, right? So there's all the colors. Now what we have to do next is we'll have to flip it, right, and bring those two edges together. So this is the difference between the tube and the double wide, is the knot that joins these right here. And after this, now mind you, this knot, it takes some work to finesse and get that one in place properly, because if you don't get it nice and tight, you're going to definitely see it. It's going to be something that's going to get snagged when the person is wearing it. It's not easy. Oh, and see there again, the clip gave me the ability to give it a little bit of a rotation, so that way I could follow this row down, and I imagine I'm going to have to, yep, there it goes again. And I'm going to bring that down, and that's going to go to where the gold comes back to the left. So alright, and then now this blue goes the other direction. Again, this is just that first knot. I had to kind of cinch it up a little bit. You could see that it pulled the slack through and helped to tighten and join those two sides together. Now this one will come down, and at this point it is joined. It is seriously, the beginning of a tube. There's not much of a tube to it yet, but it's there. And now again, this side, just like the previous, will get that little gold diamond. And you can tell that right here, as I'm working on it, all the string just seems to be right in front of me, right? Which, it's not the easiest way to do this. And you'll see where I change it up and I add in the chopstick, and what that does is it brings what is in the front from what is in the back. It makes it easier to see what I'm picking up next, so I don't inadvertently pull something from the opposite side. It's not necessary, it's just helpful. So and trust me, enough helpfuls all added together will end up equaling a lot less work in the long run. So yeah, that's a pretty big deal, especially if you're trying to make a lot of stuff, I suppose. Like that whole stitch in time thing, I don't know if they still say that. I remember hearing it when I was a kid, but it really makes a difference. If you get a rhythm going, if you get the right whatever happening, it'll make life a whole lot easier. Now at this point I've got the chopstick small side up, but later on I tried to use a clip to hold it. That wasn't really working, because you don't want it to keep sliding down towards you. Later on I end up flipping it around the other way, because it was a case of I don't want the chopstick to help distort the bracelet into trying to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because then my knots have to get kind of looser in order to accommodate that, and that would be weird. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of struggling here. I've had other setups where the chopstick sort of sticks up from the clipboard, but I couldn't really do that for the camera. And when I have it sticking upwards, then I actually just use that clip, like you saw I was trying to put on there. I just use a clip to kind of hold it to the chopstick, and that usually works pretty well for me. But here I'm trying to keep it in a spot where the camera can see what I'm doing, and you can tell that that definitely had an effect. So here I'm finishing up that first figure 8. There's the little blue diamond from the center with the gold dot. This will be the 5 gold coming across. It's already had the first one was in from the first 3. Then it has 3 more, and then the last one of the 5 will be coming in from right to left. So like I say, super time consuming, but once you see that, so there's a figure 8 and then there's a diamond off to the side of it, right? That's it. That thing tessellates all the way down. By tessellating it, it tiles. It's the same shape, just continually repeated, and that is what makes this pattern sort of fun, is that you can see that there is a thing happening here, some kind of a design that kind of unifies the whole thing, and I think that's what draws the eyes into it and makes it exciting. So there we go. That's the 8. Turn it to the other side, and then do the same thing to the other side. And see how being able to rotate it around, that's the chopstick actually allows for that really well. I can flip it to wherever it's needed to. What is going to be tied is sitting on top, and I can make sure that the knots are coming in nice and crisp. Again, I don't think you could do this with some Scotch tape or anything. In a way, I think this being sped up is both cool and a bit of a disadvantage. You're not seeing that this really did take me quite a while. I don't want that to be discouraging. You sit down to this and you spend an hour getting, very little of the whole bracelet done, and thinking that, maybe you're slow at it, or maybe this sucks, or kind of thing. It's a very time-consuming process. It's not harder than, say, other kinds of bracelets. It's just more time-consuming. So I just want to say that, so that way you kind of get the gist that, just have some patience, and this will turn out pretty awesome. So here comes the blue that makes up for the last part of this figure 8. And in that relief space will be basically as if the blues already came down, and then the next figure 8 is going into it. So that was the sort of fun idea that I had from the other video. Here, I try to show you how nifty that is. Right? Now I've turned the chopstick around, got it clamped in, and this ended up, if you'll notice, made things go a whole lot faster. I guess that's a lot of this art, is finding ways to adequately do what you want to do without too much trouble. And a little tip or trick here and there might be all the difference needed in making something really happen, really awesome. So hopefully you're getting something out of this, and I'm not, you know, talking for nothing, because that's a lot of talking. Get some to drink here. Hang on. I'm not telling you what it is because I don't get sponsored for that kind of stuff. So I can't even tell you what kind of string this is. This is that more of that string, mystery string I got on a special deal. I can't even tell you what the color numbers and stuff are. Just kind of using it up as I go along. So if you notice, I'm still using the same exact technique for how I'm forming these figure eights as I did with that pinkish colored bracelet. So the pink and a beige, I guess we're calling it. It's the same exact pattern essentially. So and could you add the big diamond, that big X that the other one had? Absolutely, it would totally work. That could be your variation on this. You could say that, you know, AKAAWOL didn't even do it. Yes, it's yours. You made it up. And that would be relatively true. Except for the fact that I just told you that it's not been done and stuff. So it's sort of my idea. Whatever. I don't care. Rock it. Rock this pattern for that matter. It doesn't matter. There's only so many different ways you can combine the knots. So, yeah. Try new things. Try to advance the art. I thought that the tube idea would be fun because, let's say you wanted to carry around a bit of money with you in case you ever got stranded or robbed or something. You'd at least have cab fare to get home. You could stick it inside the bracelet. Turns out that doesn't work out so well because money doesn't want to be washed like that, you know, every day. As well as it's really hard to get it back out of the bracelet once you know, jammed it in there. So that was the original intent for the tube bracelets. It just didn't pan out the way I thought it would. I later made like a lighter covers for it. So it started out with really tight down at the bottom, or basically where I begin it. When it gets to the end and I chop off all the tails, I kind of shove those in and then shove the lighter in behind it. And because it started out really super tight, that really kind of kept the lighter from sliding all the way through. But I quit smoking, so yeah, I have no need for those things anymore. And I don't encourage smoking, so no sense in making things for lighters. So again, I'm doing both of the diamonds first because obviously that's all I can do. I can't do the relief space in between because there's nothing to join it to. So hopefully that makes sense. Then you'll see once we have those two diamonds again, then we can put in the relief space. Then we can start working on the bottom part of those figure eights. Now mind you, this is as much as I did on the video. When we get to the end of this segment, it'll end abruptly. I had to look after my in-laws. They both suffer from different forms of dementia, and they don't understand things like recorders or video taping and that kind of stuff. So I really don't do a whole lot of that in front of them. They don't get it. So I basically just finished up the bracelet and then worked on getting the videos to render at higher speeds, so that way I'd be able to put together this portion, the voice portion of it, and hopefully you're enjoying all of this. So here comes the blue again. That completes that part of the square. Where those two blues come together, that is the actual bottom of that individual square there. Okay, and then give it a little bit of a roll, and here's the little diamond relief in between. So from this now, I have an idea for yet another bracelet. So once I finally can get this thing done and out of the way, and the web page made for it and all that other kind of good stuff, my intention is to show you yet another tube. So hopefully this has sparked some interest, and that we can get some pretty big reviews, so that way the next one is something everybody gets excited about. Alright, here comes the blue. That comes all the way to the bottom. It can join with the blue from the other side, but instead it looks like I decided to go with the gold, which will end its gold, which means when I bring down the blue from the other side, it can run straight across. It's totally kind of time conserving, but I probably might not recommend that as much for somebody just starting, just because that might confuse you a little bit. But yeah, it looks like I made up for it here, kind of only bringing it down a little ways. Again, just do what it takes. Do it to where you're not having to undo knots, and it'll go plenty fast enough, I'm sure. I'm going to the other side and putting in the other dot. You see there, I was able to flip the string around by just bringing it underneath the chopstick. And having the small end facing towards me meant sliding it underneath actually was pretty cool, because it actually rises up from the board a bit. So that is kind of advantageous. It turns out that was the best I could do with the setup I was using. So again, hopefully that helps. I think you can tell I kind of keep all my strings sort of, the ones that are to the right, the ones to the left, and try to keep them from getting all tangled up and making a mess. So hopefully you can kind of see how that works out. There's a small clip off to the right hand side that's keeping those on the board. The board's at about a 30-degree angle. You can't really tell that from the video, but it keeps them from just kind of sliding down. So that's time I brought both of the blues together, right? That would be the easier way of doing that. Easier in the sense that, right, less confusion. So then the yellow comes down, the blue goes to its blue. We're at the bottom part, so this one will go 3 over. Then it makes the little diamond in between, and then the colors join up. And that's it. And it's just the same repetitive thing again and again and again until you finish. And the overall bracelet, I think it was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the figure 8s in a row from top to bottom. There's like a figure 8, diamond, figure 8, diamond, figure 8, diamond, figure 8. So, and that's because it's the smaller knots. If you had doubled it up, if you had 24 strands in your kumi and you doubled up the string, you would probably end up doing it the same as that purple one where you only had like 3 of it. So then obviously that would be a whole lot faster, right? Fewer knots means less time. So mind you, the smaller knots, they look really intricate. It looks really fascinating. A lot of people enjoy that. So these are just the decisions you have to make going into it. Mind you, a 24 string kumi can be gorgeous. I got to really stuck some pattern into that. So it's a big toss up there. Again, I just used a kumi that was available. Kind of got excited about the prospects, about making this, and definitely want to say again, thanks to what was her name again? The Chaotic Neutral Salamander, for the idea of putting together this video. That was a lot of fun. She'd gotten the idea from my one with the text in it, the one that says AWOL, and had tried coming up with something on her own. So that was fun. And it's a really good looking bracelet. I really like it. So it just goes to show, inspiration can come from wherever. Rock that stuff. Be original. Have fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what she comes up with next. Actually, I've seen what the next one was, and that's going to be part of my next video. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that in the next video. All right, so here comes the last little blue diamond. Then the golds will come down on flank either side, and the blue will flank that. So I mean, that's it. It's really, I know I say things repetitively, but it's the truth. This isn't that difficult. I'm not putting this under the advanced. This is somewhere in between, because it's an easy pattern, just made a bit more difficult with the fact that it's, doesn't work out on paper as well, really. Plus, it's way more tedious when it comes to doing these knots in a circle. You have to keep moving things around a bit. But I think you'll do all right. I think I kind of look forward. If you make this, by the way, please tag me when you post on Instagram or whatever, and maybe we can give you a shout out. Maybe add a gallery or something in my website for all the people who have used my images. So that'd be fun. All right, there we have it, and I'll go do a wrap-up video here in just a moment. Okay, so there you have it. This is the bracelet that was made, and hopefully in all of that you have learned how to make one of these for yourself, and perhaps you're maybe even inspired to do something a little bit differently. So hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. This is fun. You'll be back, you'll subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. So until then, don't get your strings in a bunch.